I was at the Home Electronics Show in New York with Mosco, the amplifier company, and they were using Tetra speakers, and I had never heard of Tetra speakers, and they didn't tell me anything about it either, but I was quite taken with them. I loved the way they looked, and then I loved the way they sounded even more, and I thought they sounded really natural, and then I met the owner, and we sort of hit it off. I use Tetra speakers in I have a mastering place called the Effortless Masters, a mastering studio. And we use Tetra speakers in the mastering studio to great effect. You know, we've had tremendous results. And actually my son's got the 305s in his room, and he's rocking in there with those things. He loves those. And they sound fantastic in his small room too, you know, they're really good. And yeah, and then, you know, naturally, as you know, I had the pleasure of designing this speaker that's in the mastering studio. It came about because Adrian asked me to think about the idea of designing a speaker, which I'd never thought about before. And I thought, what am I going to bring to this? And then I started thinking about speakers I liked over the years and characteristics of those speakers. And he had a knack for the crossovers and also for choosing the right drivers. I was kind of trying to dream up a cabinet. I dreamt up something that was really impossible to build, you know, in any kind of production level figures. But then we kind of struck something in between, you know, that worked out really nicely. And kind of an open back, high frequency and mid frequency area, and a closed box on the woofer, and it really worked. And it's very spatial. It's spatial. and it's also great because it's got a ribbon tweeter, so it's radiating out the back, and that's kind of a neat feeling when you're standing behind the speakers and they sound clear, you know. That's kind of unusual. But yeah, it worked out well, and they're really the most musical speakers that I can think of. You know, they kind of tend to disappear. If you're not looking, if you have your eyes closed and you're listening, you could easily slip away and just think you're listening to live music, which that's the best compliment you can give a speaker, is that it disappears, if you ask me. I don't use speakers that sound exceptional in the studio because I believe in working harder. I find speakers that make me work harder, that when I take this stuff away from the studio, it sounds better than it sounded at the studio. That's the goal. Tetras sound too good for me to do that, you know. I mean, it'd be a lot harder to tune in on it because they've got more latitude. It's like that's why I say they're musical, because as accurate as they are, they can be forgiving. You can listen to things that don't sound perfect and they still sound musical on the Tetras. Even though they're revealing, and they don't have the type of accuracy that's laboratory-like. You know, they have musical accuracy, which, for my dollar, for my $33,000, I'd go for that. The 506 is a nice speaker, and I thought, well, why not the 606? So that was the first three-way that they made. And you know, the little speaker, the 120U, is spectacular sounding. I mean, kind of surprisingly spectacular. I wasn't familiar with it until recently, but I was completely surprised in a sense. I mean, you know, surprised is the wrong word. I was really impressed when I heard it. I wasn't surprised though, because it had that same musical characteristic that all the speakers have. I've been lucky to work with some great people, and some of the people I've worked with actually have Tetra speakers, you know, like Herbie Hancock is one, and Keith Richards has a pair that he's very fond of. And, you know, I know Ron Carter has a pair. I worked with him once. I mean, that was a long time ago, I think, just as in the capacity of an engineer in 1971, 72. But anyway, you know, the musicians seem to like him a lot, which is good. Yeah, they're in my mastering studio, but they're also the speakers I listen to at home. They are my speakers of choice at home. It's really, like I say, it's musical, and it's a musical speaker, and it's very forgiving, but at the same time very accurate. That's a hard thing to find. A lot of times you find accuracy, and then it makes you think too much. Like, you know, you start to think about the way things sound, right? And then other times you find musical speakers, but then they're not accurate enough, and then some things sound good, some things don't. This kind of has a broad range to it. It's everything seems to work, and as long as it's somewhere in the ballpark, you know. If something sounds crap, then it's going to sound crap. I mean, you can't crap in, crap out type of deal, you know. But but they're really they're a fine piece, a handsome piece of gear.